Good evening. How y'all doing? Somewhere in the world it's good morning. Somewhere people are saying good night. But in our neck of the woods it's a good evening. Before I get into it, it's 6:58 p.m. and we've yet to have a 30 for 30 on Florida State. We should have two. Miami had two, and we should have two. We should have from the beginning of Bobby Bowden being hired all the way to January 3rd, 2001. Part 1, and then we should have part 2 with Jimbo Fisher. Again, I know a lot of people dislike Jimbo Fisher for the way he left, but in my current situation, still being on strike and barely hanging in here, I think if anybody would call me and offer me $75 million guaranteed, I probably would jump on it. But still kind of disappointed we have not had that. So with that being said, how you guys doing? What's going on with y'all? Last couple of weeks I've had my kids. I really enjoyed them going into spring break, and my son had 2 weeks, so got to really enjoy them, spend some time with them. We're coming up almost to the end of spring. Next month will be the games, so everybody's kind of excited, focused on that. Well, I got a great video for y'all today. The SID department, the Sports Information Department at Florida State, continues to do a great job. I just wish they would kind of give us an offensive lineman category, fullback category, and they would do more, which everybody needs to do more to recognize defensive players instead of just tackles or interceptions. Put categories and show these guys off a little more. I don't play fantasy football, but you just generally have teams, you don't have players. So other than that, I'm not going to keep you guys waiting. Today, the video is about the best of the best defensive linemen in Florida State history. This encompasses the nose guards, defensive tackles, and the defensive ends. Some of these pieces have helped us win national championships. Some of these pieces have helped propel this program to unparalleled heights. You probably can see behind me, I'm watching Game Time, the rise of the Laker dynasty. So some of these pieces, some of these young men, some of these big time recruits have really helped this program transcend. And on the defensive side, I would probably say it's just as talented, or even more talented than the offensive skill positions that Florida State has been able to recruit and acquire over the last 30 or 40 years. So going to the tablet today, we're going to jump right into it. Guys, what can I say? Coming in, this is actually 15, but tied at number 15 would be Brandon Jenkins, and he had 13.5 sacks in 2010, which ties him 4th all time in the season sack total, and he's number 11 in career sacks with 22.5. In season tackles for loss, he's number 3 with 21.5, and that was in 2010, and he is currently sitting 9th in career tackles for loss with 37.5. And then tied with him, another guy I really like, Tank Carradine, and he's tied at 11 with 11 sacks in 2012. And then Broderick Warner, the Germinator, he is number 7 in season sacks with 13 in 2012, and he's tied 6th all time with 23.5 sacks. And then he's tied for 11th place in season tackles for loss with 18 in 2012, and he's number 11 in career tackles for loss with 35. So those 3 guys are my number 15 players all time in FSU history. Again, like, subscribe, comment, let me know where you have these guys ranked, if you think somebody's higher or lower, and we will talk about it. This is all opinion. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. If I forgot anybody, obviously my 2 honorable mentions that were left out is David Warren and Josh Sweat. So with that, I'm going to move to my number 14th player, and that's going to be Everett Brown, and he's number 8 in career sacks with 23. And in his season sacks, he tied number 4 with 13.5 in 2008. tackles for a loss in a season, he's tied for number 3 in 2008 with 21 and a half, and he's number 2 all time in tackles for loss with 46 and a half. So this tremendous player. And when you talk about putting up 21 tackles for loss, that means you're whipping your man, getting in the backfield, and making some good tackles. So I definitely have him at number 14. He could have been a little higher, but when you start looking at these names, I think I got it right there. Number 13 is Broderick Buckley, and he is number 1 in tackles for loss in the season with 25 in 2005. And for his career, he's number 10 with 37. So one season, this guy just pretty much dominated every offensive line he played and almost had 30 tackles for loss by himself. He had 25. So I rank him number 13. Now we move on to number 12, and this is Brandon Burns, whose career quarterback sacks ranks in 5th all time with 24 sacks. He's number 5 all time. And he's tied for 16 in regular season sacks. He's tied at 16 with 10 in 2018. So he had 10 sacks by himself in 2018, and he's number 20 in 2016 with 9.5. And he's number 18 in the season with tackles for loss with 15.5. And career, he's number 8 in tackles for loss with 39.5. So Brandon Burns had a very productive and tremendous career in Tallahassee. I have him ranked at number 12. Now we move on to a guy I really like, stayed in the program, developed, graduated, was a tremendous player and a tremendous leader. And that's going to be Alonzo Jackson, whose career quarterback sacks ties him at 8 all time with 23 sacks. And he's tied at 7th in season sacks with 13 in 2002. And season tackles for loss, he's number 10 with 18. Career tackles for loss, he is tied for 13th with 32.5 tackles for loss. Alonzo Jackson, national championship winner, part of the '99 Noles, was a senior in 2002. Great leader, great player, great passion, obviously great motor, got to the quarterback. He's one of the Noles that I'm more fond of. Moving right along to number 10, and this is going to be Travis Johnson, who is number 6 in career tackles for loss all time with 42.5. And season tackles for loss, he's tied at 11 with 18. This is the guy I actually met in person, and he signed my media guide. Very nice, very fella. This would be one of the Noles that I would say is one of the more highly sought after Florida State players in the history. And I'm actually going to do a list of the top 15 biggest recruits to ever sign with Florida State. And Travis Johnson, I think, had 140, 150 offers. But he chose to come out of California and be a Seminole, and he ended up being a first-round draft pick. Great man, great leader, great player. Moving right along, number 9, Willie Jones. Willie Jones had 2 sons play at Florida State. Willie Jones Jr. was another guy that was very highly sought out there out of the Miami area, and this is Christian Jones' father. So Willie Jones tied for most quarterback sacks in the game with 5 versus Florida, November 25th, 1978. So in the rivalry game, he had 5 sacks. Season quarterback sacks, he's tied number 16 with 10. But Willie Jones went on to play in the NFL. Tremendous father, tremendous man, and like I say, anytime you get 5 sacks in the game, you're cooking with grease. So I have Willie Jones ranked at number 9. Now we move on up, and we're going to break off into some much bigger names. Let's go with, excuse me, Demarcus Walker. Oh God, Demarcus Walker was an absolute beast on the defensive line. His season quarterback total ties him for 2nd all time with 16 in 2016. And he's tied for 14th in 2015 with 10.5 sacks. His career quarterback sacks rank 3rd all time with 28.5 sacks. And his career tackles for loss is third all time with 45 tackles for loss. And then in a single season, he's third all time with 21.5 in 2016, and he's tied at 18th with 25 in 2015. So when you talk about a guy that ranks in the top 5 all time on Florida State list, then you know if any names above him, they must be extremely good, because Demarcus Walker is one of the reasons we ended up getting our last 10-win season. We beat Miami, and then we went on to the Orange Bowl. Outside of beating Southern Miss in the Independence Bowl, this is the last truly big win we had, and it's because of his leadership that we got there. That team played against Ole Miss. We kind of struggled. We lost to Louisville, got blew out, and this team found themselves after losing to Clemson, after losing to North Carolina, found themselves, gained some momentum, got their toughness back, and ended the season, which set us up for ultimately the game in Atlanta against Alabama, which would be the largest season opener in the history of college football, with the two teams coming in how they rank. So Demarcus Walker, very productive career, and I have him at number 8. Now moving on to number 7 will be Dre Wadsworth, the 1997 ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He ties second in season quarterback sacks with 16 in 1997. He's also tied at number 8 in career sacks with 23. He's tied at number 7 with season tackles for a loss with 19 tackles for a loss in 1997. The ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Dre Wadsworth. Before Jameis Winston, this was the highest drafted Seminole ever. So that just gives you a tell of how good he was. A former walk-on, went to defensive tackle, and then moved to defensive end, and really helped us in 1997 go all the way into the swamp, ranked number 1. Unfortunately, we lost another game that cost us a national championship. At number 6, we have Darnell Dawkin. He is number 1 in career tackles for loss with 65. He's number 2 in season tackles for loss with 22 in 2001. And he's tied for 7th in season tackles for loss with 19. And he also tied with Ron Simmons at with number 15 with 17 tackles for loss in 2003. One of the greatest defensive linemen to ever come through Tallahassee, Florida, out of the DMV area, I think out of Maryland. One of the highest high school recruited players in his senior class in America, Darnell Dawkin, and he is the all-time leader in tackles for loss. Moving on up the list to number 5, we have Raynard Wilson. In 1996, led the team with 105 tackles. A defensive end led the team with 105 tackles. Number 1 in career quarterback sacks with 35.5. He's tied at number 4 in season sacks with 13.5 sacks in 1996, and he's also tied for 11th on the all-time season sack list with 11 sacks in 1994. Raynard Wilson, 105 tackles. Need I say more? 1996, if anybody will know, 1996 defense was just on another level. Mickey Andrews, Bobby Bowden, the whole Florida State team got out coached in the Sugar Bowl against Florida. If anybody know anything about what Spurrier did, going to the gun, getting Danny Werfel from not under center, getting him where he could see the defense, quick plays, we didn't adjust, and it cost us, really, I think, Bobby Bowden's first true chance at a perfect season, 96 and 97. But if you go back and you look up some of the history of some of the more dominant defenses, 1996, Florida State just destroyed opponents defensively. And Raynard Wilson was a big part of that. So can't take nothing away from him. Obviously, if he's number 5, the other 4 must be just a little bit better. So we're going to move along to number 4, Jamal Reynolds, the 2000 Lombardi Award winner, who tied number 9 in season quarterback sacks with 12 in 2000, and his career quarterback sacks is 23. 23 and a half. And then his tackles for loss, he ranks number 20 all time with 15 in 2000. Career tackles for loss, he's number 12 on the all-time list with 33. And this is the 2000 Lombardi Award winner, Jamal Reynolds, who was a first-round draft pick, one of the cornerstones of that defense from 99 and 2000. The only bad thing I can say about him is we couldn't get a sack on Ken Dorsey when we needed to in that game in the Orange Bowl. But other than that, a tremendous player out of South Carolina. And we get a lot of talent out of South Carolina. We got both the Boldware brothers, Lawrence Timmons. We get some studs out of there. I can't think of his, Chris Hope, another one of those South Carolina kids. But Jamal Reynolds is my number 4 all-time Florida State defensive lineman. Coming in at number 3, the 1999 Lombardi runner-up, Corey Simon, whose tackles for loss in the season ranks number 6 in 1999 with 21, and he's number 17 on the all-time list for season tackles for loss with 16 in 1998, and he's tied number 4 all-time, and his tackle for loss total is 44. So he ranks number 4 all-time on career tackles for loss with 44. Corey Simon, one of the anchors of that defense, 97, 98, and definitely 99, his senior year, really stood out. One of the true, tough, great defensive linemen. Had an interception against Virginia, can play, leader. When Virginia Tech drove down the field about to punch that first touchdown in, he recovered a big fumble for us at the start of that game. Just a guy that was all over the field, made plays, was not only one of those rah-rah leaders, but he was a guy that led by example. And he definitely is one of my favorite Seminoles of all time, Corey Simon. And he ranks number 3. So now we go to the number 2 defensive lineman, or you want to say defensive end or interior lineman of all time, which is Peter Boldware. He is number 1 in season sacks with 19, and he had that in 1996. And he ties number 16 in season sacks with 10 in 1995. And he, on the career quarterback sack list, he's number 2 with 34. Named to the Football News Defensive Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Player of the Year in 1996. The number 1 to Suggs came along. This was a record. He had 19 sacks in a season, just unbelievable. 1996. I'm telling you, go back, go through that season. That really shouldn't even been in the game with Florida. We should have been in the Orange Bowl that year, and I'm not gonna make no excuse. Florida beat us, but go back and look at Peter Boldware's 1996. Florida State set a record for most sacks in the season, and he was a big part of it. So if he's number 2, then y'all know who's number 1. The number 1 defensive lineman in Florida State history is Ron Simmons, and he's number 1 for the most quarterback sacks in a game. And he tied Willie Jones with 5 versus North Texas on October 29, 1977. He tied season sacks in a regular season with 9, with 12 in 1977. His career sacks is number 4 all time with 25. Season tackles for loss, he's number 15. And he had that in, he's tied 15th, and he had that in 1979 with 17 tackles for loss. As a career tackle for loss, he is tied at number 4 all time with 44. And he caused the most fumbles in the season with 13, career fumbles 17. He finished 9th in the Heisman Trophy ballot as a junior, and number 5 in career tackles in Florida State history. This is a defensive lineman who's number 5 all time in career tackles with 383 tackles. This is the guy. This is the first piece that started the dynasty. When you say you don't build your house on sand, you build it on a foundation. This is the first piece. This is the pavement. This is the key piece that started the run. This is the first piece that turned the whole tide for the Seminoles out of Warner Robinson, Georgia, the #1 defensive lineman in Florida State history. Not only is his number retired and jersey retired, this is one of the greatest players in college football history. Ron Simmons. Most sacks in the game. Most fumbles forced. Most 5th all time in tackles. Let me repeat that again. He's 5th all time in tackles. 1977. Come on now. And look how many players have played after him, and he ranks 5th all time in tackles. So this is my list. If you don't agree with it, you like it, comment, let me know. If I didn't add nobody, if I left somebody out, I want to apologize. On my all-time punters list, I think I missed Sean Powell, and he was a consensus All-American, and I didn't have him on there, so I do want to apologize for that. I'm only human, everybody makes mistakes. But again, next up for me will be the all-time linebackers in FSU history. So you guys have a great day. Sun's still out. Y'all get ready to enjoy y'all weekend. And I'll see you guys again. Remember, go Noles. Stay strong. Garnet and gold all the time. This just happened to be in black. 2013 national champions. We're going to get back there again. Y'all be blessed and have a good day.